Hey loves, and welcome back to another tutorial. So in today's video we are going to learn how to make a high low neckline and asymmetric neckline. So this is a subscriber's request and I have decided to make a video on it. This is the first time I'm actually trying it, so I'll carry you guys along. I'll show you the mistakes and how I achieved this dress. Thank God it came out well. So you mostly see this neckline in beach wears and maxi gowns. So you will need about 6 years of Ankara fabric for this style. And if you are using a chiffon or silk, you will need like 4.5 or 5 yards of this fabric. So please do keep on watching. So this one will be a flay gown. You can make this an A-line, but I'll advise you to make it a flay gown because flay is always fuller. It will give you the fullness you want. So I am going to cut the front part first and the back part. So I'll fold a triangular flay. This is what I used. I'll fold a triangular flay this way. Just hold one point of the Ankara or of the fabric and fold this way. So let me turn it so that you guys can see. Like I said before, I'll show you guys some of the mistakes that I made too. This is the first time I tried out this style. Thank God it came out well. So this is for the front part. So after arranging it, you will measure your chest line, like from your armhole to your armhole. I'm going to cut it like an off shoulder. So I am done arranging. I'll go ahead and mark 5 inches and then connect a line to that 5 inches. Though if you want, you can make yours 3 or 4, but if you're going to add a rope to this neckline, make it 5 or 6 because you will still add a rope to it. So I marked 5 inches and then I will subtract 4 inches. Like I told you guys, I'll cut it like an off shoulder. You can make it 4, 5 or 3, but from 3 to 4 inches is okay. Then from there you will mark your armhole line. After subtracting your 4 inches, you mark your armhole line. My armhole is supposed to be 8 inches, but you know, if you're cutting this halter neck, you will make your armhole deeper. So let me mark 10 for now. I'll still extend this armhole, but for now I'll make it 10. So I will not add a rope to my neckline. I will just turn it with a bias. So I'll go ahead and mark 3. I marked 5 initially so that if you want to add a rope, you can make it 5. Like the wideness of the neck, you make it 10 inches. That is 5 on fold. So I want it to be just 6 inches. So I marked 3. Then from that point where I marked 3, I connected it to my armhole. You can see the way I slanted my armhole. My armhole was supposed to be 8 inches, remember, but I made it 10. So I'll go ahead and cut out that part for now so that everything will be clear. So I have cut out my neckline and my armhole line for now. Then, like I told you guys, you cut this thing as if you are cutting an off shoulder dress. So what you are going to do is that you will place your -4 or -5 or -3 depending on what you subtracted at your neckline. So I subtracted -4, so I'll place my -4 on my neckline and then determine the full length of this gown. So the full length of this gown is 60 inches, but I made it 62 because after joining the front and the back, one might be a bit longer than the other. So I made it 62 so that I'll have the space to trim after joining the front and the back. So I'm marking my 62 round. You place 4 on your neckline and then mark 62. If you want it to be 60, place 4 on the neckline and mark 60. So this is how I will continue until I have gotten my flay. So I'll place 4 on the neckline and I will mark my 62. So I am done getting the full length. I'll connect the line and then cut. I'll go ahead and cut out my flay. If you have a knowledge in making flay, this will be a kind of easier for you. So if you notice, this is an ankara, it is by 46 or 45. So if you notice, one side is longer than the other, this doesn't matter. What you will do is that you will join it, you place another ankara fabric on it, then you go ahead and join it and cut so that the both will be equal. So I'll go ahead and take my bust measurement, that is 33 divided by 4, but I added an extra 2 inches. Then I will slant from my neckline down. The reason why I did this is because I want this cloth to be a kind of fitted at the bust area. I don't want to leave that flay like that. So I'll go ahead and like slant it. Just measure at the point where you measured your armhole line. Take your bust measurements on that line and slant. So I made it 33 divided by 2. Then I added an extra 2 inches so that it will not be too tight. So this is the front, the flay is out. If you can notice, one side is still short, so I've placed this fabric and I'll go ahead and join it. So I have finished joining that area, the shorter area. Then I'll fold my flay again and place on my table. So as you can see, I'll go ahead and cut it out. Like I said before, the length of the other one does not matter, just add your fabric and complete it. So I have completed the flay and this is how it looks like. The front part is out now, the two flay is equal, so you can see where I joined. So the next thing that I will do is to cut my back. So before I do that, I will notch the area where I want my back neckline to start. Remember that the front neckline and the back neckline are not equal. The back neckline is low, so I want it to start at 17 inches. That might be too low. If you want it to start at 14 inches, just mark 14 inches. If you want 15, mark 15. Anything you want, just mark. So I want mine to start at 17, so I'll go ahead and mark that 17 area. Remember to -4 at the neckline, then you notch. After marking where you want the back neckline to start from, notch it. Remember to notch it because that is where the front and the back will meet. So I have notched the area where I want my back neckline to start from. So I'll go ahead and fold another flay. I'll go ahead and fold another flay. This one now is for the back, and when I am cutting it out, I will cut it so that it will be equal with the front at first. Then after, I will now trim my neckline. So I folded my second flay for the back. So after folding it, I will introduce the front. I will place the front flay on it and then use it to cut it out. So when placing the front and the back, please do make sure that both of them are equal at the down parts. Do make sure that both of them are equal at the down parts. So I have finished placing it, and as you can see, they are equal. If there is any adjustment, I'll still make it now before cutting. So take your time and do this. I'm sorry, filming a flay video can be hard because you need to cover a lot of areas. So I was actually struggling with my camera. So I noticed that the front is still a bit bigger than the back. I'll go ahead and adjust it so that both of them will be equal at the down part. So I'll go ahead and cut. I'll cut out the down part first. Then after cutting the down part, I will now cut the upper part. So the back flay, one is still longer than the other. You still go ahead and join it the way I joined the front. You can see where I joined the front from. So I am done cutting the full length and I have cut the upper part. So if you check, you see that one part of the back is longer than the other. But for now, let me cut my neckline before I'll come to that. So at the neckline, remember that I notched somewhere. I notched 17 inches. That is where my neckline for the back will start. So what I'll do is that I will draw a straight line there and then fold. Like this is the front part. I'll fold the front part. I'll fold it this way so that it can make way for me. That is where I'll cut out the neckline from. So I'll folded the front. I'll go ahead and cut the back straight. The back neckline is low, so I'll go ahead and cut it straight. And here is it. You can see that the front is now longer than the back, but that is not an issue. So I'll go ahead and remove the front. I remove the front and keep aside. Then I will add another fabric to that shorter part of the back and make them equal. So here is the front. I am done with the front. I'll go ahead and keep it aside. So this is the back. One side is still longer than the other side, so I'll go ahead and place a fabric on it to complete it. So I have placed my fabric on it. This is how I'll place it, and I'll go ahead and join. So after joining, I'll come back and trim it. So I am done joining, so I'll come back and fold my flea again. After folding it, I will trim so that the both sides will be equal. So I know you might be wondering what I'll do to the back part. There are several methods you can use to gather the back part. You can use a band, you can use an elastic, depending. I did mine twice. I did the first method, it wasn't that perfect. I had to change it again. So for now, let me trim the back part, then we will continue. So I am done. This is the front and this is the back. You can see where the met. You can see the line that I made there. That is my 17 inches line. So they are equal at the full length. So for the front, I will fold it with a bias. If you want, you can fold it and add your and pass your rope through that side, but for me, I want to fold it, turn it with a bias strip. So for the back, you can use a band. Like I said before, you can use a band and gather the back, like a very tiny band, and gather the back like the way we gather our sleeve. You can use a very tiny band, but if you don't want to use this method, you can do the elastic method. This gather method is better on satin, on silk, all those ones. It is far better. If you don't want to use that method, you can still use the elastic method. You use your half-inch or 1-inch elastic and place on the back part. Then if you are sewing it, you'll be dragging the elastic. Like if you are sewing, you'll be dragging. After doing that, it will have the gathers. So this is the elastic method. I have placed my elastic on it, and when I was sewing, I was dragging it, and as you can see, it has gathers now. So the next thing that I will do is that I will go ahead and fold it in this way. Like if I go to my sewing machine, I'll be dragging it and then turning it like the way we hem a normal edge. So after that, you will have your gathers. This was the first method that I used. and it didn't work perfectly for me because the back part was a kind of loose. So after doing this, you place your front and the back together and then join. So for the front part, I have turned it with my bias. So it is remaining the armhole part. So I will do piping. I don't know what I just learned this this term. It is called piping. So I will use piping for it, the bias method. So I'll go ahead and use my bias strip. You can use your fabric, but I used my bias because I was a kind of rushing. So I doubled my bias. As you can see, I folded my bias, I doubled it. So I stitched one side and left one side open. So once you go, you place the Ankara fabric inside the opening that you have left on your bias, and you start from the neckline. So from the neckline, you pipe it down to that point where you measured your 17 inches, or where you measured 15 inches. That is where you measured where your neckline will stop. So you just pipe and stop around it. So my own will stop at that 17 inches that I marked. So I'll go ahead and do it and show you guys. So I am done. As you can see, I have finished piping. This is how it looks like on the outside, and on the inside this is how it looks like. Remember, I said that it will stop at the area where the two necklines you meet. You can see where it stopped at the 17 inches area. So this one is for the rope, but if you don't want your rope to be here, you can fold your neckline and pass your rope through the neckline. So I'll go ahead and place the front and the back together. So when sewing, both of them will meet at the 17 inches area, and then you will sew down. If you want, you can add a lining to this, but I did not use a lining. So you go ahead and sew down. So I am done. Like I said, the back part did not work. So this is the third method. I will use this fabric. You can see the straight fabric that I cut out. I have removed my elastic. You will use this fabric and turn the edge of the neckline, of the back neckline. So after turning it, it will make a channel for you. So that channel is where you will add your elastic. So for the elastic, this is how I measured it. I will place it across my back, and then I will drag it in order to achieve the tightness that I want. So this is how I want it to be. Then I will hold that area and cut it out and then insert. So for the down part, hem it with a bias strip. I hemmed mine with a bias strip. So after inserting my elastic at the back, this is how it looked like. So I pleated the front neckline a bit, like I did a very small pleating. And this is the final look of the dress. This is my rope at the back, and this is the back part. You can see this elastic is a kind of firm, and if you check my bust area, you will notice that the flay is not too much. That was why I reduced it with I measured my bust measurements before doing anything. So this is the final look. Thank you guys for watching, and bye.